This is the Fusil Automatique Léger, the light automatic rifle, introduced in Belgium in 1954. It was designed by Dieudonné Saïve, or however that's supposed to be pronounced, who was the star pupil of John Moses Browning at Fabrique Nationale. The FAL is a gas-operated tilting bolt design, descended from John Browning's Model 1918 automatic rifle, and in turn is an ancestor of modern American and NATO machine guns such as the M249 Squad Automatic and the M240 General Purpose, which is just the American version of the old MAG-58. With many local variations, the FAL was the standard rifle for most of NATO during most of the Cold War, and many remain in service throughout the world. Modern production is also available for sporting and competition use. Most are of the metric pattern, but British examples, designated the L1 series, were designed with specifications in inches. This example is a rebuilt parts gun. It is believed to use a combination of inch and metric parts. This particular specimen uses metric magazines, which are the most common. This video will demonstrate the basic operation of the FAL series of automatic rifles. Let's start as usual by identifying the major features and controls.
The trigger, the safety and fire selector. The safety may be engaged whether the internal hammer is cocked or not. Civilian versions have only two positions. Up is safe, and down is fire. Military versions have a third position, 180 degrees from safe, for fully automatic fire. The lower receiver. This contains the trigger group, rear sight, buttstock, pistol grip, and recoil spring. The upper receiver. This contains the bolt carrier, magazine well, and all other controls. My understanding is that the upper receiver is the serial numbered component and therefore legally the firearm under American law. The magazine catch. The magazine well. The magazine. Standard capacity is 20 rounds, while larger and smaller versions have been made. Metric magazines have this small rounded bump on the front. Inch pattern magazines have a larger, more squared bump. The bolt lock. This is supposed to automatically hold the bolt open when the magazine is empty, but this rebuilt parts gun appears to be missing a small pin which would be engaged by the magazine follower. The charging handle. Most FALs have non-reciprocating charging handles like the AR-15 family. Depending on the country of origin, the handle may fold alongside the receiver. My understanding is that some Israeli components function as a reciprocating handle, providing a forward assist function. This particular rifle does have a folding handle which latches in place and prevents movement, much like the spring latch on the AR's charging handle. The takedown latch. I'll do a disassembly video on this weapon later. This should be the usual style and position, but there are national and vintage variations here too. The rear sight. This is one of the more common types. Some lower receivers are being made with M16A2 style rear sights, which are click adjustable for windage and elevation. This is the more common type. There is an internal spring detent, and the sight is simply pushed back and forth to change elevation. The aperture also folds down so it won't snag. These screws on either side of the base are used to adjust windage. The ejection port, through which can be seen the bolt carrier. Many FALs are fitted with a folding carry handle. If present, its style will vary by the nation of origin. The pistol grip and buttstock. Again, there are many national and vintage variations, as well as aftermarket replacements. The dust cover. Similar to the Kalashnikov, there are a few different styles. Some include a Picatinny rail for mounting optical sights. At least one version, I believe it was the T-44 American test article, had a charger guide, so the magazine could be reloaded in place with stripper clips. The handguard or forend. Again, there are national and age-related variations and aftermarket replacements. The barrel. A few different lengths and styles are available. There are various muzzle attachments for flash hiders, bayonet lugs, grenade launching spigots, and so on. This rifle, probably made during the Clinton Prohibition, has no such device. The front sight. Like the AR, Semyonov, or Kalashnikov, it can be threaded in and out of its base to finally adjust elevation. The gas adjustment collar. This rotating collar adjusts the amount of gas being allowed into the gas system. This would be adjusted by an individual shooter in the field to compensate for fouling or ammunition quality. The gas plug. This retains the gas piston inside the gas cylinder. When rotated 90 degrees in one direction, it allows the release of the piston for cleaning, which I will illustrate in a separate video later. When rotated 180 degrees from normal, it cuts off the gas system, making the rifle a single shot for use with blank cartridges for rifle grenades. The large groove on one side indicates the normal position. Depending on the nation of origin, it may be marked, for example, with the letter A for automatic on one side and G for grenade on the other. The unmarked or ungrooved side would be turned up for single shot or grenade launching operation. This spring plunger on the side allows it to rotate. This large groove should be turned up for normal operation, and you'll have to adjust this collar to get the right amount of gas to run through the system for reliable operation.
Now let's see how to unload and make safe a weapon of this type. Press the magazine catch forward, then rock the magazine forward. The magazine can then be removed. Now the bolt must be opened to remove any cartridge which may be in the chamber. The style of the charging handle will vary with the origin and vintage of the rifle. This one has a folding handle which locks it into place on the receiver. It must be unfolded before use. Pull the charging handle to the rear. The bolt will open, extracting and ejecting any cartridge which may be in the chamber. The bolt may be manually locked open by holding the charging handle to the rear while pushing up on the bolt lock. Then, like the AR-15 family, the non-reciprocating charging handle should be slid forward and latched in place. Not every charging handle may latch. For range safety, insert an open bolt indicator. For storage, after ensuring all ammunition has been removed from the weapon, close the bolt. There are two ways to do this. You could pull down on the bolt lock, which would allow the bolt to slam forward. This is poor etiquette, may cause internal damage to the weapon, and may cause injury if you have your fingers in the wrong place. A better way is to pull back on the charging handle until the bolt lock releases. You should be able to see this small part drop down and then ease the bolt forward. Now let's see how to load and fire a weapon of this type.
The standard FAL magazine holds 20 rounds. 5, 10, and 30 round units are presently available, as well as at least one 50 round drum. Cartridges are rolled into the top, automatically arranging themselves on opposite sides. You do not need to slide them under the feed lips. They roll in very simply, just like an AR-15 magazine. Stripper clips, or chargers, may also be used. I do not have an adapter for the FAL magazine, but the principle is identical to that of the AR-15 magazine. There is a guide which slides onto the magazine. It is shaped differently from this, but it works in the same way.
The loaded magazine is then inserted into the receiver front first. It must hook into its recess and then rock back to latch. This was a source of some embarrassment for me the first time I handled an FAL. If the bolt is already locked open, the bolt latch may be pulled down, allowing the bolt to slam forward, chambering the first round. This is the only time the bolt should be dropped in this way, when loading a live cartridge. Without the resistance of that cartridge being stripped off the magazine, you may cause damage to the internal parts. Alternatively, if the bolt is already locked open, pull the charging handle back until the bolt lock releases, as we saw before, and then allow the bolt to slam forward under recoil spring pressure by releasing the charging handle to fly forward. The momentum of this should cause the folding charging handle to snap onto its recess on the receiver. If you are inserting a magazine in a weapon with the bolt closed, simply pull the charging handle all the way back and release it to fly forward. To fire, aim, release the manual safety, and press the trigger in the usual way. The FAL series are autoloaders, meaning they automatically extract and eject the spent case and load the next one from the magazine. Civilian models, which are semi-automatic only, as a simplified explanation, will fire one shot each time the trigger is pressed until ammunition is spent. The trigger must be released and pressed again for each shot. Automatic versions, military issue versions, will have a third position on the selector switch and will continue firing until ammunition is spent or the trigger is released. When the magazine is empty, the bolt is supposed to lock back automatically. This particular specimen is missing one small internal part which prevents that, but I can still lock the bolt open manually. To reload, remove the empty magazine, replace it with a loaded magazine, release the bolt if it's locked open, or pull and release the charging handle if the bolt is closed. Firing may then be resumed. This should conclude the basic operation of the FN-FAL series of automatic rifles. Introduced more than 60 years ago, widely copied and exported, a weapon of this type may be plausibly encountered anywhere in the world. Everyone should know how to use one in case of emergency. That is the purpose of this video and this series of basic firearms tutorial videos. If you have any questions, please leave them in comments. I'm not an FAL expert, but I'll try my best. And if you found this video useful, please consider a charitable donation through my website's PayPal button or the tip button below if you're watching this on my VidMe channel. Thank you.